Let's take a look at the chart action for Bitcoin. Alright, so in this video, we're going to be looking at the Bitcoin chart and doing an update on the price. And then we'll also take a look at the total crypto market cap over here and see what's going on with that. And then we'll also take a look at Ethereum to Bitcoin to see whether we want to be looking at Ethereum or we want to be looking at Bitcoin. Alright, if that sounds interesting, check this out. Okay, so let's start off with Bitcoin. Alright, so we've been looking at this falling wedge pattern or rising wedge pattern right here. We got to break out to the downside. So now what I'm looking at, ever since we broke this trend line going down, I'm watching this bottom down here sitting at around 33,600. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to get a bounce right here or if it's going to keep going and break this level going to the downside, because another level that I've been looking at is if we zoom out, we have this previous bottom right here sitting around 30,000. We actually came down to maybe around 29.5k, somewhere around there. So what I'm thinking is, if this spot doesn't hold and we keep going down, the other spot that I'm looking at is 30,000. I actually have a limit order set right here and right here. I'm kind of curious how far we're going to come down and where we might get a bounce at, either right there or possibly at this lower level right there around 30,000. If you guys watch my videos, you guys know that one thing that I've been really watching for a long time is if we switch over to the daily time frame, we have resistance right here, and resistance right here. We're watching this downtrend, and until we break this going to the upside, I'm still thinking that it's going to give us resistance and push us down. Right now, we actually came in very close to it. We really tested it, and we got rejected, and now we're pushing down. And that's why I kind of think we're at least going to come down and maybe touch this bottom down here possibly. The other thing I'm noticing is we're on the daily time frame, and as you can see, the volume down here, we're getting declining volume. We're getting less red volume than we did yesterday, and in general, it's just declining. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen or how far we're going to go down, or when the volume is going to actually kick in and we're actually going to see some red candles, or we're going to start to see a reversal and maybe start to test this trend line again. I think the main thing that I'll be watching is this red line right here, and until we break this red line going to the upside, then I'm thinking about looking at the bottoms sitting around 33.6k or maybe 30,000 somewhere down here. Alright, let's jump over to the total crypto market cap, and let me show you what I'm looking at on this chart. So if we zoom out, let's go ahead and zoom out. These yellow lines represent the previous bottoms right here, a previous little bottom right here, and a previous bottom right there. So what I'm thinking is, or what I was watching is, these yellow lines for bounces. We actually got a bounce right there. Now it looks like we're coming up and hitting this resistance line, which we had resistance right here. Actually, we're not watching that one. We're watching this one, resistance, and this is the one that we're testing first right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in so you can see a little bit better. I'm on the 4-hour time frame, but you could probably even switch to the daily time frame and zoom in, and you can see this better as well. We have resistance, and resistance, or at least we got rejected pretty much. So what I'm thinking is, until we break this downtrend going to the upside, then I'm looking at the bottoms, this one right here, and then the next one is right here. These levels are sitting at 1.51 trillion, and then the next one down over here is sitting at around 1.192 trillion. Like I said, it does look like we came up, tested it, and got rejected. We did break this little uptrend that we had. I was watching it on the 4-hour time frame, and this is another thing I was watching. Let's go ahead and just delete everything, and I'll show you what I was looking at in the smaller time frame. We can kind of zoom in and stretch it out a little bit. We have this top line right here, and then we had a bottom line, something like this. And this looks very similar to Bitcoin, kind of like a falling wedge pattern, something like this. I was also watching this as well the other day. We had a top something like this, and then a bottom something like this, and I was targeting from the top to the bottom of the triangle. Once we broke that going to the upside, something like this, but we actually got resistance right here, and got faked out and got pushed to the downside. So now how I'm looking at it is more of something, we have resistance, and it looks more like a falling wedge. But let's see if it plays out like that, because like I said, I was watching this triangle pattern. It didn't perform all the way going to the upside. But in general, we are trending down, so a rising wedge kind of makes sense that it will, I don't know. That's just what I'm kind of looking at it right now as a falling wedge, and now I'm looking at these previous supports down here. Pretty much like Bitcoin, we have these resistances. Let's draw them out again. This is the first one we want to break. We have this downtrend like that, and then we have another one right behind it, maybe something like this. So until we break these downtrends going to the upside, then I'm thinking the market might be kind of going down to either hit this spot right here or this spot right here. Let's go ahead and bring back our yellow lines that we had out. So these are pretty much the spots that I'm looking at until we break to the upside. Hopefully we can get some support. We already got support at one of them. Let's see if we can hold support right here, get a bounce, and maybe break this downtrend right here. Or are we going to come down and hit this next bottom down here and have to maybe try to bounce on that one to break to the upside? I'm really hoping we could hold support right here, because kind of like we were looking at before with this trend over here, I was saying that we wanted to hold this bottom because it's a previous low, and this spot's pretty similar. We have this uptrend, something like this still, until we break this spot right here. Let's do a horizontal line at around, let's see, where is it at? Maybe 1.2 trillion approximately. We could drag it down a little bit lower because we got a little bit lower, maybe 1.16 trillion. If we can hold above this, then I think technically we're still kind of in an uptrend, because we're getting a low, a high, a low, a high, and we're still trying to find our low right here. If we can hold above this previous low, then we're still getting, at least we didn't form a lower low, and this uptrend is still pretty much intact. Kind of. We're still getting higher highs and higher lows. If we can bounce something like that, as long as we can bounce above this red orange line and start bouncing something like that, we're still getting higher highs and higher lows. So until we break the orange line, then we still have a little bit of hope, in my opinion, that we're still possibly in a bigger uptrend in general. I know we've been trending down pretty hardcore, so we had an uptrend like this. We had a bottom, top, where we're getting higher lows and higher highs, and then we actually, like I said, we broke that 40k level, or we broke, what is it, 1.82 trillion right here, and because that was the level that I was really watching. So this uptrend in my opinion is done, but if we zoom out, I think we still have this uptrend that we're looking at. That's just my opinion. And in general, if this chart is trending down, then we can have bearish targets on our coins. And if it's trending up, then we can be bullish on them, or trending up in this little uptrend. Either one. In general, if we were to bot back here, trending up, we're still doing good. So let's see what happens. Like I said, as long as we don't break this orange line, I think we can still have a chance of being in this still big, huge uptrend. Okay, so that was the total crypto market cap. Let's jump over to Ethereum to Bitcoin. I like watching this chart to see whether Ethereum's performing better or Bitcoin's performing better. And we're on the daily time frame right now. Let's just go ahead and delete everything, and we can start from scratch pretty much, because we have support right here. We have support right here. Let's go ahead and move this and this. We have this uptrend going up like this, in my opinion, and we did break this uptrend going to the downside right here. We could even switch over to the weekly, and I bet we can see this pattern a little bit more clearly, kind of, or what I'm looking at. So we had an uptrend like this, and then we broke it going to the downside right here, meaning Ethereum had been outperforming Bitcoin this whole time, and then once we got resistance up here, Bitcoin has been taking over, and we're in this downtrend, so Bitcoin has been doing better. So I think one of the other things that I'm looking at, since we broke this uptrend right here, let's just delete it. What we're looking at is this downtrend right here. We have resistance, 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 those three red candles, and I'm looking at that trend line pushing us to the downside. As long as we're pushing down, then I think Bitcoin is doing better than Ethereum, or at least this chart is saying that it's outperforming it. There might be some volatility in here, something like this, but in general, as long as this chart is trending down, then Bitcoin is doing better. Once we break this trend line going to the upside, then we could start looking at Ethereum as, then we can start looking at Ethereum over Bitcoin pretty much, because it's outperforming it. Or it might just be trending in that direction. Like I said, we might get some volatility in here like this. Right now, it does look like there was a little bounce from right here to right here, but we haven't broken this downtrend going to the upside quite yet. So I'm kind of curious how far we're still going to bounce underneath this trend line, pushing us down. Like I was talking about, in the last chart, we have a high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, and these are all getting lower highs and lower lows. And that's pretty much the main thing that you look at when you're looking at a trend, is if it's getting lower lows and lower highs, then it's pushing down. Sometimes if it's getting higher lows and lower highs, then you're looking at some sort of triangle pattern, something like that. But like I said, in general, as long as this chart's trending down, then we're looking at Bitcoin. Once this chart breaks this trend line going to the upside, then we can start looking at Ethereum a lot more closely. If we zoom out, we've been looking at Ethereum because it's been trending up pretty hardcore throughout this whole time period. If you would have bought Ethereum down here, you could sell it right now and buy more Bitcoin than you could have bought back here. I have been looking at this spot right here, this spot right here, and this spot right here. If we go ahead and do the horizontal lines, we haven't looked at this chart like this in a while, but we have one right there. We have another one maybe somewhere right here, and then we have another one maybe somewhere right here. We have some wicks that go a little bit higher, but let's just kind of average out with like the bodies. All right, so what I was thinking is once we get to these orange lines, then I'm going to be a little bit more curious on what's happening. We actually are hitting these, we hit this orange line pretty much right here, and now we're hitting it right here, and now we're kind of pushing down. I think the other thing that I had been looking at though is we are kind of forming this little flag pattern. We have this bottom right here and maybe a top, something like this, and then we had this big flagpole, something like that, and then some consolidation. So what I had been looking at for a really long time is a flag pattern, something like this, dragging from the top to the bottom and then dragging this to the breakout. I was looking at it, even something like this, I thought we'd already broken out and we were already pushing to the upside, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like we got rejected, but this flag pattern still looks like kind of intact until we break this bottom trend line going all the way down like that. Then it still looks like it's still possible, in my opinion. Maybe if we get a bounce right here and start pushing up, this flag pattern's still intact, and we can start looking at Ethereum a lot more closely, because if this chart is trending up, then that's really good for Ethereum. And if we get a breakout, something like that, then we can start looking at the next previous resistances. Like I said, we got resistance on this orange line right here. I'm very curious if we continue to head up, we're going to hit these ones up here and then start trending down. If we go back in time, we can see that Ethereum had a big, huge bull run compared to Bitcoin in this area right here. Trended up really hardcore, outperformed Bitcoin like crazy in these areas right here, and then got super outperformed by Bitcoin in this downtrend right here. But as you can see, it goes up and down, and right now it does look like we're in this uptrend like this. Maybe it's possible that we're still pushing up. That's why I like watching this chart though. I like watching these trend lines to see which way it's going, whether it's Bitcoin or it's Ethereum. Okay, so going back to Ethereum, I think one kind of thing that chart kind of also tells is that Bitcoin is losing less than Ethereum, possibly more than outperforming it. Because like you could even see today, right now, Bitcoin's down 0.2%, while Ethereum is down 1.9, approximately 2%. So yeah, quite a bit of difference. Yeah, so that's why I do like watching those charts, to kind of look for that difference, and you can actually see it on a chart and kind of chart it out. Like I said, we're watching this falling wedge on Bitcoin, and we're breaking to the downside. I'm watching these previous bottoms right here around 33.6k, and then I'm kind of curious if we're going to break down and even hit maybe 30k. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, I'm going to leave a link in the Discord. Go come check out the Discord and join the crypto chat. If you're new to trading, check out this video right here. It's a video about buying and selling, and then I also have a playlist right here. It's a video about how to get started on looking at charts. All right, if you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up, and then I'll see you in the next one.